Australians, we're behind the States, but we accumulate 56 kilos of new clothes each year.
Wait, I just need to let that sink in. Welcome back to another episode of Self-Dom Beautiful Humans, a safe place to learn and get inspired to live your healthiest and most fulfilling life. I am Dom, your host, and I feel so grateful to be living my passion by getting to interview inspiring and knowledgeable guests. My mission on this podcast has been to help educate you all on the ways to feel your best. We have touched on clean beauty, diet, fitness, and mindset, but I have been missing one piece of the puzzle. What we wear and the material it is made from play a huge role in our overall health. I recently discovered Gabby Neal, the founder of Intact, and was truly blown away by the facts and statistics when it comes to what we wear. Intact is an Australian merino wool brand whose goal is to encourage others to choose wisely when it comes to their everyday wardrobes. She is challenging the norms of wool being seen as only a winter-only choice with basics that can be worn all year round. I was fascinated about this topic and I'm so excited to chat to Gabby today. So welcome to Self-Dom.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
She's come over with a top and I'm wearing it. It feels so nice and it's actually really hot in my apartment today. So this is really, it doesn't feel hot on me.
No, it's so soft and I'm so glad you like it.
And it's is it matcha green?
Yes.
I just like
Very on brand.
Yeah, it's very on brand. So talk to us about wool.
Yeah, no, wool is, it's such an amazing fiber and it's all natural, which is just amazing. I think, this day and age and where we're in this world fueled by hyperconsumption and fast fashion. And I think it's just going back to basics and wool, it's 100% natural. It's completely renewable. It's biodegradable. It's a fully circular fiber. And I think, it's almost the forgotten fiber of the fast fashion generation. And I'm excited to share it with the world and bring it back and show how versatile it is and how easy it is to incorporate into our everyday.
So I want to talk about a few things you said because I feel like I don't know, which means my listeners won't know either. What happens to wool? Say you like when you say it's biodegradable, because I feel like this word is thrown around. What does it actually mean? Like what happens to this wool?
Yeah, so I think wool, merino wool in particular, it comes from the merino breed sheep. And so when you think about they get shorn once a year and then their hair, it's made from keratin, like our nails and our own hair. So it goes back straight away. And then in terms of being biodegradable, when it goes back into the soil, it returns valuable nutrients like nitrogen. So it completely biodegrades. So when you kind of think of synthetics and fast fashion, they might take 200 years to decompose, but wool can take anywhere from 8 to 15 weeks.
Wow.
So that's pretty incredible.
That is incredible because I've been in the modeling industry for a long time and I thought that fast fashion was kind of on the down. Like I feel like there was a lot of media attention on how bad it is for the environment. It's something as well that I don't find breathable. When I wear it, I'm like sweaty. So it's pretty interesting that now it's like on buses, on billboards, everywhere. What would you say to the girl who's listening who's like, shit, I'd buy all the fast fashion?
Well, I think it's, at the end of the day, and that's what Intact is all about. It's being mindful and kind of taking the time to be slow with your just choices and rethink your wardrobe foundations. And, obviously media, social media, where everything's in our faces 24/7, but it's just being mindful and going to the shops or when you're shopping, like turning the tag and looking at what the composition is and, choosing natural fibers or taking baby steps. You can never be the best when it comes to being more sustainable. And I hate throwing that word around as well because I feel like it's all greenwashing, but it's just being mindful and creating a thoughtful wardrobe. So I think, you've just got to slow down and just consider. And like you said, like wool, like it feels so soft and it is so breathable and compared to synthetics. And then, when you're wearing and you're working out and you get clammy and all the sweat gets stuck between your clothes and your skin, like wool, has these amazing natural properties that will just transfer the vapor, like water vapor, away from your skin. So bacteria that creates odor, that's where the smell comes from. But wool, because it transfers that away, it doesn't smell. So I run in mine, I go for a whole week, and it's perfect for travel. It's just great. It's so breathable and it's really known for its temperature regulating properties. So in the sense that wool is the way it's crimped. So in winter, like you wear it, obviously people know it in winter because it keeps you nice and warm. That's because it traps that heat between your skin. Whereas in summer, because it transfers that vapor, like that's where it becomes breathable. And I think wool has come such a long way from our itchy, scratchy, like nana knitwear.
Yes, that's what I picture.
Yeah, all the old school jumpers, and like wool has come so far from the wool that we walk on. It's now wool that we wear is so luxuriously soft and lightweight. And yeah, I think that's what I want to do with Intact. I want to show that it's not what it used to be, and like challenge those outdated misconceptions. And and I think we're coming into summer now, like it's a beautiful sunny day in Bondi and we're wearing wool. Like who would have thought?
No, I know.
That you're feeling so comfortable. And I think that's the thermoregulating properties, and it's really good for your sleep, and it just has all these other health benefits that people just aren't aware of. And I think education and like your podcast, which is like why I reached out, like it's got such, like people are interested in this stuff, and I think people like bringing it to the forefront is so important.
Yeah, well, when Gabby came over, she's like, this material, you don't need to wash it. She's like, you could probably go a month without washing it. So watch this space, because I'm going to Bali and I'm going to wear these.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know how they go, if I'm a stinky girl or not. So yeah, I'm so excited because it's so good for traveling.
Oh, it's
not having to wash it, like, why not?
And especially when you think about like your everyday basics, like why wouldn't you want to wear fibers that are really gentle on the skin and breathable? And especially like if you're in the office, pardon me, and especially if you're in the office and you're sitting in these environments, like you don't want to be sticky and clammy. You want to feel comfortable. And wool, it's an active fiber, so it works with your body temperature. So the moment you start to rise in temperature, it'll keep you cool. Like it's just so perfect for so many different use cases, from working out, going to work, like sleeping. Like it's just really beautiful. And yeah, I'm just very passionate about it.
I love how passionate you are about it. And one thing we're all really passionate about in the self-dom community is endocrine disruptors. Mm-hmm. I feel like we are just like, no tox here. We don't want tox in our beauty. We don't want tox in our food. We want organic. But I feel like clothes has just been left behind. No one's ever thinking, oh my God, I don't want to wear that. My question to you is, when you wear synthetics or polyester, does that actually go into your body?
I have no idea. I don't know the facts behind that one, but I definitely think, on a greater scale, like, we are so conscious of the foods we eat, our diets, like what we have in our environments, the beauty products we put in our skin, and the fibers that we wear are the next thing on our skin. So it's like, why wouldn't we be conscious of what they're made of? And I think there's definitely, like, you could easily make that link. And I do think it's important, especially when you think of all the other health benefits. Like, wool is really great for sleeping. Like, you can fall asleep faster, but also, like, you don't have disrupted sleep because you're not waking up because you're cold or you're hot. You need to get rid of the blankets.
It's regulating your
and then
heat.
You know how important sleep is on our health. Like, it just has such a flow-on effect that I think it's starting, if we're in this space, so if we're conscious about these things, we need to start looking at the bigger picture. And like you said, like, it's just starting exploring what else is there that we can do, because at the end of the day, we all want to be healthy.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to talk about now the other side of the coin, like the polyester and the fast fashion. What kind of happens to the clothes, the environment, and any other factors when we wear fast fashion and when we rotate our wardrobe so quickly?
Oh, I think there was a stat I read the other day. I think Australians, we're behind the States, but we accumulate 56 kilos of new clothes each year.
Yeah. Per person?
Yeah.
That's how much I weigh.
Which is just wild. And you think about, most of the time when people are shopping, they're not thinking about, well, what am I doing with the rest of my clothes?
Oh my God, wait, I just need to let that sink in.
And then there's another stat which would blow your mind.
Where does all the clothes go?
Well, that's it, landfill. Or like, obviously depending on what they're made from, but that end of life solution is so important. And that's wool. Like, that's why I'm really passionate about getting it out there. It's that wool is biodegradable, and wool is one of the most reused and recycled fibers on the planet. So you think, when you go to Vinnie's or like you go to those secondhand shops and you get a beautiful wool blazer, or like, they're the stuff, the family heirlooms. It's not the Shein fast fashion. I'm not going to be passing those down to my kids, but I'm going to be passing down the beautiful woolen blankets. And wool can be deconstructed and repurposed into so many beautiful, amazing products, and it just kind of continues that life cycle.
Yeah, I'm always the first to admit, like, when I've done something wrong, especially on this podcast. I feel like it's such a safe space because I always do garage sales. So I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like, my clothes is getting recycled.
Yeah.
But you're so right. If it's made from poly, It's not, yeah, okay, someone else might wear it for one more year, but then what's going to happen?
And then
It doesn't
you also-
like,
yeah.
wool lasts for like generations. One of my favorite things when I go to the Blue Mountains, they have the most epic vintage stores of like woolly, like really old school vibes. And I'm like, they could be in this store for another 100 years and still stay that tip top quality.
That's
But
it.
yeah, you're not going to see like a sheen top in Vinnie's for like 100 years, but we just all tend to do it.
No, that's it. But like you said, the garage sales, and I think it's just being conscious. And, you know, when you are buying new items, okay, well, do you need to go first through and reassess your current wardrobe? What is there that you can give away? What can you go and repurpose? Can you make something else out of it? And I think, you know, then when you're on the other side, when you are online shopping, it's looking at things being like, do I really need that? Can I hire it instead? Like, does a friend have it? Can I borrow it? Like, how many times you're actually going to wear this piece? Like longevity, I think. And yeah, choosing those natural fibers, because I think when there's a stat that goes around, I read it the other day, it was 44% of people don't realize the clothes that they're wearing is made from plastic.
No.
And when you kind of think it's literally just like a visualization of you walking around wrapped
In a plastic
Glad wrap.
bag.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, like plastic bags are like basically out now and like people are wearing them. Like that is crazy to think. And imagine how sweaty you'd be wearing plastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just rewiring that narrative, because I think everyone thinks wool is like sweaty. I'm wearing this now and it feels so breathable and so good. So
especially for your next of skin, and, you know, wool, I think it's like the hair, I think it's 50 to 100 microns thick, and wool is anywhere from under 20. So, and that's when the fibers, like the clothes that we're wearing today, like it's so soft, and it's really good for sensitive skin and eczema, and like you said, like all these health benefits that people just don't know. And I think once you start to wear it, and I think, yeah, that's Intact, we're inviting them into this world just to trial it. And then we have singlets and the long sleeves, but especially when you're working out in your everyday, like why not just try it, see how you feel, and then you can kind of build your wardrobe from there. And I think, you know, it's creating it would be awesome if everyone had just like the capsule wardrobe, their basics that they have on repeat. And then you can add in a few of those like more high fashion pieces.
And that's the thing, like I adore fashion. Like I love wearing bougie ass dresses. So I'm never going to stop doing that because that makes me feel really good. But I love how we touched on hiring. Like hiring is such a good way. It's sustainable, it's cheaper. And we all know we're never going to wear that dress again.
Yeah.
So like why spend the money when you can hire it and then you have like your key capsule wardrobe?
Yeah, exactly. And then investing in that capsule wardrobe, because if you're going to be wearing it every day, it's next to your skin, it's in that environment, why not make sure it's high quality pieces made from natural fibers?
I think this is when it's really important to do a social media cull, because then you can get rid of maybe some people that are constantly changing outfits and maybe making you feel insecure about wearing the same thing. But also like fashion is such an expression of yourself. And I think if you can borrow stuff from friends, become a little bit more collaborative, maybe, you know, if you had some jeans you don't want anymore, cutting them into shorts, like get creative with it. It's not going to only be better for the environment, but better for your bank account as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's it. It's longevity. And you think how many times you're going to wear that, like the fast fashion pieces, you might wear it. People are buying them just for weekend events and then throwing them out. And it's like, well, why not, go and borrow it from friends or find other ways to be more conscious of what you're wearing.
Do you know how this whole fast fashion happened? Like, do you remember like when, because growing up, it wasn't a thing, and now it's like massive.
Not at all. And like my mum, like I learned to sew from my mum. My mum made all of our clothes as kids, and like during high school, we'd go to Vinnie's, I'd make clothes, and yeah, it was very much, I don't know, I guess social media, but it's hard to pinpoint.
I guess also like being access to the rest of the world, like I'm just like thinking China production and stuff like that happened in our lifetime.
Oh, and you know, there are some amazing benefits of this. Like innovation is just, it's crazy, and it's like helped us move like leaps and bounds ahead. But then I think, it's kind of, we're having this resurgence. We're kind of getting back to basics. And, you know, I think even like swimmers, like the original swimmers were made from wool.
What?
Yeah.
Swimsuits?
Yeah, because it dries so quickly, and like it's so soft. And like when you think back when swimmers were first made, like we didn't have all these polys and synthetics out. They had to use natural fibers.
Isn't it crazy? Like in 2024, we're realizing that we need to become more like cavemen than ever before. Like we're all like, no more pesticides on the food. Like get rid of all the lights in your house. We're just going back to basics. So then when you're like, we used to wear wool for swimmers, and now we all wear plastic. It's like we just need to all strip it back to what it once was and to be your healthiest self. I always say, like, my mission is that people are their healthiest and most fulfilled self. And I just forgotten about the clothes element, and yeah, just go back to basics. And I also think, like, if you have to make a decision on what white top to wear, why don't you choose wool? It's going to breathe better. It's better for the environment. I guess it's like those simple swaps. Starting there is a really good way to create that capsule wardrobe.
That's it. And I think, like you said, it's so easy to get so overwhelmed with it. But I think at the end of the day, like, you can't be the best at everything. You can only be better. And I think that's exactly what Intact's about. It's just small baby steps and encouraging people just to rethink and, like, really just challenge, okay, well, why am I reaching for this and not wool, the natural fiber? You know, Australia is the largest exporter of wool around the world. It's grown in our backyard. We supply the entire world with all our wool. Why not support local and
So true.
and small brands, and like those, it's those small decisions that will ultimately have a larger impact. And I think we're kind of at that turning point in a way where it does have to come down to the individual, because these big brands, you know, commercialization, like, they're coming out with new collections each season, and they're trying to make money, which, you know, that's a business's objective. But I think if you can make those smaller choices, and, you know, maybe there is a local designer that, you know, or I don't know, I think it all kind of goes back. And, you know, that local designer, like, for example, like, there was all the Buy from the Bush campaign a couple of years ago. Like, if you can give back to community, that money gets circulated again, and it just has such a positive flow-on effect for everybody.
Yeah, I really hope this is inspiring you all to just reconsider your purchase decisions. I do want to talk about the benefits of wool and your skin, because I am a girl who suffers with eczema, and you were telling me that it's actually had some profound impacts on women suffering with eczema.
Yeah, so I actually was privileged enough to speak at an event a couple months ago with all these women in health and doctors and nurses, and it was really fascinating talking to them. And, like, you know, a lot of them weren't even aware, but there's actually a few studies that have been done to show that wool, and in particular, has significantly improved people suffering with eczema, because it is so fine and it doesn't touch, like, the sensory experience isn't as coarse as, like, some other fibers. And then also it helps regulate your temperatures and that humidity. You don't get that clammy, and that's where the itch comes from. But I think, yeah, there are so many amazing benefits from wool in that respect, that I think people have to try it though, because, like you said, everyone thinks that it's itchy, scratchy, like those jumpers, but it's really not. And when it's right next to our skin, you know, even like wool underwear is really great, especially, like, it gets breathable, there's no odor, and it's really just good for just regulating your whole body in general. And I think that's where the flow-on effects come. You know, you can get to sleep faster, you have a better quality sleep, and it's just such an amazing fiber.
Okay, so you love wool. I'm, like, loving the passion in your voice. Where did your love for wool start? Like, what was the moment? Because I know you live on a farm half the time.
Yeah, so
She's a country girl.
I know. So I grew up on a farm in Condobolin, so on a map between Sydney and Broken Hill. It's right in the middle there. So I grew up there, and I've been surrounded by wool my entire life. And I think it wasn't till my mid-20s that I kind of realised that it was the start of the supply chain for fashion. I think, like, growing up, I was always so, like, into dress ups, and, like, I always had that kind of fashion. Like, I was always attracted to that glitz and glamour of the fashion.
Well, you lived in New York for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to go over there, which was just the whole other spectrum.
Yeah, I was like, from farm to the city.
I know, and especially when I was in New York, like, that was at the time when Australia was going through, like, the worst drought on record, and my sister and my mum and dad were on this farm that was just barren. It looked like Burning Man. They had scarves and goggles just because it was such dust. And I think it was
not as glamorous as Burning Man, is it?
No, but it was at that time, and I was trying to work out what could I do that could support them, but also, you know, use my skill set. Like, I'm not boots on the ground, I'm not a farmer, but I've got a fashion design background, and fashion, that was my passion. And I think, yeah, it was kind of working out what I could do that could combine that skill set and give back. And that's where Intact was born. And you know, working in the industry, I was seeing at that time, around 2018, there was a shift towards more slow and sustainable and conscious wardrobes. So I think when I was coming up with the idea of Intact, you know, I didn't want to add to the noise. I wanted it just to be, you know, basics that people wear on repeat and has, like, a lower impact. And I think that's where, you know, we're just trying to, you know, keep your wardrobes and your footprint intact in that way, But yeah, that's where wool has kind of come about. So my dad is very much big on education, and I think that's where I get it from. And then I get the creative streak from my mum. So it's good. But like I said, I've been on the farm for the last month, and I have that balance, which is really nice. But it's so exciting when I get to be on the farm and, you know, they don't know anything about what happens on this side of the fashion supply chain, but they know everything that happens on the ground. So the last couple of weeks, like we were shearing, I was pressing wool. So I'm really...
But does the wool from your farm go into Intact?
Not this wool,
I
no.
was
But
like,
it's all
that would
Australian
be crazy.
wool. I would love to do that. But no, everything that we use, it's all 100% Australian Merino wool, which is some of the best quality in the world. But yeah, that's a long-term goal. I would love to, do a
That would be
collection.
so amazing. It sounds so sustainable. It just feels right. It feels like how we should kind of
I
be
think
dressing.
Generally though, it's if we can just the more, and that's why I think it's like giving back, and like small things can have a big difference. If we can get more people wearing wool, you know, we can support the farmers in our backyard who are doing this amazing, you know, they're working every day and they're looking after these amazing animals that are giving so much to our health benefits. And it's just, I'm all about keeping it intact and giving back in more ways.
I think one of the biggest problems that I see is that people don't ever think about the supply chain when they get a product. So like you just buy it from the shop and you don't actually think where that product started. So in my head, I'm like, okay, beautiful with Intact. It's like they shear the sheep, in Australia, they create the product, it's Australian wool. That's a beautiful supply chain I would want to get behind. But then you think about like if you buy something off Shein, that supply chain of the factory, of maybe like they've had videos of the shocking labor conditions, like that ends up in the landfill, like the product's life cycle, it's so damaging from start to end. Whilst when you're buying local, you're actually supporting so many people, the animals, like because even with me and eating meat, because I actually I didn't eat meat for 8 years. I do eat it now. But I'm very particular of where I purchase meat from, and I'd rather pay a premium when it comes to what I eat. So we kind of need to think about, I'd rather pay a premium for like the basic singlet I wear, because that means it's been locally sourced, ethically done. And I think, just one thing, I want this narrative to change for my audience to really think about how to get from A to B.
And I think that's it. Like we're kind of at that point, people are starting to forget where the actual food and fiber is coming from. And like you said, the meat thing, like most of my parents made the same thing. I was vegan for a while.
And a farm.
Yeah, I know.
Because my girlfriend, Sash, she's actually vego now, but she loved meat when she was on the farm because she said she knew where the meat came from, so it didn't scare her. But now she's like, if you get meat at a restaurant, like where did that come from?
But now that's the thing, like I eat meat, and like you said, like at the shops, like even like if it's from like Aldi or House Farm, or if it's at Woolworths, you always go for the Australian, like grass-fed. Like you're just making those conscious and going to the local butcher, because like you said, you know that supply chain is shorter and you can be more conscious of what and where it's going. And, you know, it's supporting those, like in our local community, the farmers that are doing this and supplying the food and the fashion that we're wearing and using each day. So I think, it's just being mindful and just taking a step back and just making decisions that have a bit more impact.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be so beautiful to see in the social space, like people embracing outfit repeating, like I would really love us to all embrace outfit repeating. And I'm guilty, and I work with a lot of fashion brands. Like it is part of my job. But one of the things I do when brands offer me gifting is I often say no unless it's work. That's one way I try to reduce my consumption. But let's embrace the outfit repeating.
Definitely. And I think when you're wearing high quality pieces, and especially like, you know, basics like a white tee, like you can wear it so many times because it's breathable, like you don't have to wash it, like you can get away with that, and then just swapping your jeans for shorts or different outfits. And like traveling, like I went to Europe this year and I literally just took the Intact capsule range and I wore it on repeat the whole time.
Were you one of those people that takes like 5 kilo bag for like a month trip, like, or a duffel bag?
But it made everything else was so much easier.
I know, but I'm not that girl.
But like you said though, it's like when you're doing the events or you're going to certain things, then it's like you can go on high, or if you haven't bought something for a while, go and treat yourself, because I think there are, like you said, like fashion for me as
it's
well.
also
like,
pleasure.
Exactly. It brings joy, and so why not indulge in that a little bit? You're allowed to.
I think exactly. I think like the overarching message from this is like, we wear certain pieces again and again. Choose wool, choose intact, obviously, but still enjoy getting dressed up and enjoy it. But be mindful. If you can rent, choose to
That's
rent.
it. It's
Or if
being
you can support a
balanced.
local designer, choose
Why not?
that route.
Yeah.
Maybe don't buy from Shein or
Well, that's it. And like,
all of
especially,
those.
yeah, I think it's just being, support your local community. Like that's just what it is. And like you said, being mindful, creating thoughtful wardrobes, choosing natural fibers, and just being conscious, turning the tag when you're shopping. Like people don't, when I've spoken actually at a couple of events, I like to do a little exercise at the start.
Do you make everyone check their label?
No, I make everyone guess. I ask the question, I get hands up. And so they actually physically, I'm like, do you know what you're wearing? And they're like, oh yeah, they think. And then I get them to guess. And then at the end, I get them to have a look and actually turn the tag. And most of the time it's shocking. Like they just don't know. And also interestingly, the generations, so older women obviously that have been in the room, they know they're always wearing natural fibers comparatively to the younger generation who
Yes.
think they are. And they're like, oh, I was actually surprised. I thought this was wool or I thought this was cotton, but it was actually polys and synthetics.
Yeah.
And that's also, going back into the health benefits, especially like women going through menopause and hormones, like wool is such a breathable, natural fiber that can help regulate that. And I think, we just have to be a little bit more mindful, and especially the younger generation coming up. And I do think they are being a bit more, like it does feel like there's a bit more conversation coming out about it. But yeah, it's definitely, you just have to do those small things. And if literally turning the tag is the only thing that you do on choosing a preference to natural fibers, then that's
good enough.
Yeah,
that's a good
amazing.
start.
Definitely.
So apart from wool and what you wear, what are some other ways that you reduce your consumption?
I think, like you said, I think it's going through and being mindful is the overarching thing. Like in everything, like do you actually need to buy it? Are there other alternatives that you can look at? But in terms of consumption, I always go through my wardrobe and like seasonally as well, like what no longer fits, who can I gift it to? Do I have nieces or nephews, little friends that I can pass on? Because I have a big suitcase. I have a suitcase of items that I've kept that I'm like, oh, I'm going to pass that down. But I think there's other ways of doing that and looking at, okay, well, I sew a lot of my clothes as well, so can I remake it into something else?
Oh,
or
yeah,
can
that's
I gift
so
it as
cute.
well? And I like that. I like to be creative.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I always end the podcast with the same question, which is, what advice would you give to your younger self? I mean, apart from wear more wool, but
I know you sent me this question. I was thinking about it. I think for me, my biggest thing, have more conviction and confidence in all areas. I think, growing up on a farm and working in fashion, imposter syndrome was so real. And I think it's not till I've gotten a little older and I've become more confident in myself and my decisions that I do sit in this in-between phase of I'm not quite in fashion, but I'm also not quite on farm. So I think confidence and having that, because I think, once I start, it took me a while to launch Intact because I was a bit unsure of what people would think because, everyone's so, they thought wool was this itchy, scratchy, and I'm coming out with such a new product that people aren't really aware of. So I think, and as soon as I launched, I had all this amazing feedback, and I think...
Oh, it feels so good. I keep touching it.
Oh, I'm so excited to see what you think. And
I love it.
Especially to
love
work
it.
out.
And it's a really cute cut.
And your morning walks, and it suits your matcha. You can be fully matcha green.
I know, I love it. Well, that's true, and I hope all the listeners can really learn on this episode and just be more mindful. Just be more mindful and slow down your fashion.
Yeah. And I think it'll have so much more benefits, ripple effect everywhere.
Huge.
From your health, everything.
Thank you so much for coming from Newcastle to join me on the pod today. You're so easy to talk to. You're very grounding, I would say, your energy.
Oh, thank you. No, it's so nice. I've been listening to your podcast for so long, and I'm so excited to share this. So,
Amazing.
Yes, see what's to come.
Gabby's been kind enough to offer the listeners a discount. So use Self-Dom at checkout for 15% off. It's a perfect time. It's so hot. It's January right now. So make sure you get on the wool train because truly it's really breathable. And if I don't need to wash my clothes as much, it's a tick for me.
It. I want you to experience a new way to wear wool and keep it intact.
I love it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.